Imagine living in a world where the sun never truly shone, not physically, but within your very soul. A world where laughter felt like a foreign language, and every day was a quiet, relentless battle against an unseen enemy. For Leo, that enemy was depression. It wasn't just sadness. It was a heavy, suffocating blanket that wrapped around him, muting every joy, draining every ounce of energy, and convincing him, day after agonizing day, that he was utterly alone in his struggle. He was a brilliant young musician, a talented composer, but the melodies in his mind had long been replaced by a discordant hum of despair. Outwardly, Leo was a master of disguise. He'd perfected the art of the fleeting smile, the quick excuse, the polite dismissal. His friends and family saw a quiet, perhaps slightly distant young man. They never saw the crushing weight that forced him to stay in bed for days, the terror of social interactions, or the constant internal monologue of self-doubt. He felt trapped in a self-made prison, a prisoner of his own mind, unable to reach. Doubt, convinced no one could truly understand the darkness that consumed him. He believed he was destined to live his life in the shadows, isolated and unseen. But what if, even in the deepest, most suffocating darkness, a tiny crack can appear? What if, through an unexpected encounter, a forgotten passion, or a single act of radical vulnerability, a path to light can be forged? This is the extraordinary story of Leo. It's a testament to the quiet strength it takes to fight an invisible battle, the power of compassion that sees beyond the surface, and the remarkable journey of how one soul, lost in its own shadows, began to find its way back to the warmth of connection and self-acceptance. Prepare to be deeply moved, because this is a heartfelt chronicle about the profound courage it takes to find light in the darkest corners of your own life. Leo's battle with depression wasn't a sudden onset. It was a slow, insidious creep. It began in his late teens, a subtle dulling of his vibrant spirit. Once a lively, curious child, always eager to explore, he found himself withdrawing. His passion for music, which had once filled his childhood, home with joyful melodies from his piano, slowly faded. The keys grew silent. His compositions, once flowing effortlessly, became stagnant. Incomplete fragments trapped in his mind. By his early 20s, the silence had become deafening. He managed to get a degree in music composition, fueled by a faint, lingering sense of duty, but the joy was gone. He struggled to find work, not because he lacked talent, but because the mere thought of sustained human interaction, of meeting deadlines, of navigating expectations, felt like an insurmountable climb. He took odd jobs, mostly remote, isolating himself further. His small apartment became his sanctuary and his cage, a place where he could hide from the overwhelming demands of the outside world. The physical symptoms of his depression were often overlooked. The chronic fatigue that made getting out of bed feel like a marathon. The pervasive brain fog that made simple tasks feel impossible. The crushing anxiety that paralyzed him before any social interaction. He often made excuses, a cold too. Busy, not feeling well. His friends, initially concerned, slowly stopped reaching out. His parents, loving but bewildered, offered advice that felt hollow. Just try to get out more. Find a hobby. Think positive. They didn't understand that his brain simply wouldn't cooperate. He felt an immense shame, a burden he carried alone. He saw himself as a failure, a drain on others, and the thought of reaching out, of burdening anyone else with his darkness, felt unbearable. So he retreated further, convinced he was better off alone. He spent his days in a perpetual twilight. The curtains in his apartment were rarely opened, casting his small living space in a perpetual gloom. He'd stare at his neglected piano, gathering dust, a painful reminder of a past self he no longer recognized. Food became an afterthought, sleep a battleground of restless thoughts and fleeting nightmares. The world outside felt too bright, too loud, too demanding. He craved solitude, yet loathed the crushing loneliness it brought. It was a vicious cycle, a silent war fought behind closed doors with no visible wounds and no clear path to victory. His last attempt at true connection had been with an old college friend, Sarah. She was kind, patient. She tried to pull him. Out, suggested going for coffee, offered an ear. But Leo's fear of being truly seen, of exposing the depth of his despair, was too great. He'd made excuses, canceled plans at the last minute, until her invitations eventually stopped. He told himself it was for the best. He was saving her from his darkness. But in reality, he was pushing away the very light he desperately needed. The silence that followed was deafening, a testament to his deepening isolation. Leo's world continued in its muted tones until one cold, gray Tuesday. His internet had suddenly gone out. For most people, it would be a minor inconvenience. For Leo, whose only window to the outside world, his only connection to remote work and a semblance of normalcy, was his internet, it felt like a catastrophe. He tried everything, restarting the router, checking cables, endlessly calling his provider. Nothing. After hours of frustration, he reluctantly decided he had no choice but to go to the local library. It was a small, independent place, usually quiet, but even the thought of navigating human interaction filled him with dread. He found a secluded corner, hunched over a public computer, feeling the familiar prickle of anxiety as people moved around. He struggled to focus. The tasks that once seemed simple now felt overwhelmingly complex. His mind raced, filled with self-doubt. He closed his eyes for a moment, wishing he could disappear. When he opened them, he noticed an old, battered keyboard on the desk next to him. Someone had left it there, perhaps after finishing their work. It was an antique, with thick, clunky keys, not a modern, sleek device. And on one of the keys, someone had painted a tiny, almost invisible, musical note, a treble clef. Leo's hand instinctively reached out, tracing the tiny symbol. For a fleeting second, a spark ignited within him. A tiny, almost forgotten memory of the joy he once found in music. He remembered painstakingly drawing musical notes in his childhood notebooks, imagining symphonies. It was a whisper from his past, a ghost of his former self. He looked around. No one seemed to notice him. No one seemed to care about the forgotten keyboard. He pulled out his own small, worn notebook, and for the first time in months, he started sketching a melody. Just a few bars, simple and melancholic, but it was something. It was his. He worked for a few hours, the anxiety slowly fading, replaced by a fragile sense of focus. As he was about to leave, he realized he had been so engrossed that he'd forgotten about the old keyboard. He looked at it again, the tiny treble clef staring back at him. On impulse, he decided to leave a note. He tore a small piece of paper from his notebook, and with a pencil, he wrote, "Thank you for the unexpected inspiration. A fellow musician." He left the note tucked under the keyboard, a silent gesture, seen by no one. He thought nothing more of it. He left the library, the rain still falling, but for the first time in a long time, the air felt a little less heavy. The next day, his internet was working again. He slipped back into his solitary routine, the brief flicker of inspiration from the library fading into the background. He dismissed it as a momentary reprieve, a fluke. The heavy blanket of depression still lay over him, but perhaps, just perhaps, a tiny corner had been lifted. Days turned into a week. Leo was back in his apartment, the curtains drawn, the silence his only companion. The short melody he'd sketched at the library remained unfinished, a testament to his lost inspiration. He tried to continue it, but the familiar block returned. the self-doubt whispering in his ear. Then, an email arrived. It was from an unknown sender, with a subject line that made Leo's heart skip a beat. Regarding your composition sketch at the library. Leo stared at the screen, his hand hovering over the mouse. How? Who? He hadn't given his name, no identifying information. He opened it, bracing himself for spam, or perhaps a lecture about leaving notes. The email read, "Dear fellow musician, I found your note under my old keyboard at the library, and your sketch. Forgive my curiosity, but I couldn't resist looking at it. The melody, it's beautiful. Raw, melancholic, but with a hidden strength. I finished it. Just a few bars, the way I imagined it might go. I've attached a small audio file. No need to reply, just wanted to share. Keep writing. The world needs your music." It was signed simply, "Another fellow musician." Leo's hands trembled as he clicked on the audio file. A simple, elegant piano melody filled his quiet apartment. It was his melody, those first few notes he'd scratched out, but then it continued, flowing seamlessly into a resolution he hadn't known how to find. It was perfect. It was everything he wished he could write, but couldn't, and it was finished by a stranger. Tears welled in Leo's eyes, not tears of sadness, but of a profound, overwhelming feeling he hadn't experienced in years. Connection. Someone had seen his music. Someone had understood it. And someone had offered a helping hand, anonymously, without expectation. It felt like a small, warm sunbeam piercing through the perpetual gloom of his room. He listened to the melody again and again, letting it wash over him. Then, with a sudden, desperate urge, he walked over to his dusty piano. His fingers, stiff from disuse, hesitantly touched the keys. He played the stranger's continuation, then his own original notes, and tried to find a way to make them truly his. For the first time in what felt like forever, the music flowed. The blank page wasn't terrifying. It was an invitation. He replied to the email, simply writing, "Thank you. More than you know." He didn't ask who they were or how they found him. He just expressed his gratitude. And a few days later, another email arrived. A single sentence, "You're welcome. Keep sharing your light." This exchange continued, sporadically, over the next few weeks. Leo would send a new sketch, a fragment of a melody he'd started. The other musician would send back a small, completed piece, sometimes with a cryptic comment about courage or finding beauty in simplicity. It was a lifeline, a secret conversation that fueled Leo's creativity and pulled him, inch by agonizing inch, out of his self-imposed isolation. He was writing music again. He was feeling again. The melody exchange with the other musician became Leo's secret source of strength. It was a connection born purely of art and empathy, free from the pressures of social interaction. He felt safe in this anonymity, able to express himself without fear of judgment. His days grew brighter. He started opening his curtains. He even ventured out for walks, seeing the world with eyes that were slowly regaining their color. One afternoon, a notification popped up on his laptop. It was from a local community arts center, advertising a small, open mic night for original music. The theme, unfinished melodies. Leo felt a jolt. This was it. A chance to play his music, the music he had started at the library, the piece that had been completed by his unseen benefactor. The idea terrified him, but the thought of sharing their music, his and the other musicians, pushed him forward. He signed up, his hands shaking. The night of the open mic, Leo's anxiety threatened to overwhelm him. He almost turned back. But then he thought of the other musicians. Last email, "Your music is your light. Don't keep it in the shadows." He walked onto the small stage, his heart pounding, the microphone feeling impossibly large in his trembling hand. He introduced his piece simply. "This is a composition I started, and it was completed by an anonymous fellow musician who inspired me to keep going when I thought I couldn't." He sat at the piano, took a deep breath, and began to play. The melody flowed, melancholic at first, then building in strength, rising in hope, exactly as it had been completed in the audio file. As his fingers danced across the keys, he felt a wave of liberation. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was sharing his soul. When he finished, the small audience erupted in applause. Leo looked up, blinking, overwhelmed. He was about to step off stage when a voice clear and resonant cut through the applause. "That was beautiful, Leo." Leo froze. He knew that voice. He looked towards the source. In the front row, a woman stood up. It was Sarah, his old college friend, the one he had pushed away, the one whose invitations he had stopped returning. She stood there, a warm, knowing smile on her face, tears shining in her eyes. Leo felt a wave of shock and a profound understanding wash over him. "Sarah?" he whispered, his voice hoarse. She nodded, walking slowly towards the stage. "It's me, Leo, your other musician." Leo stared at her, utterly speechless. "But how?" Sarah smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile. "Remember that old keyboard at the library? It's mine. I volunteer there a few times a week, helping people with digital literacy. I saw you that day. You looked so lost. And then I saw your note, your sketch, and it moved me. I knew it was you, Leo. I remembered your unique style, even from your college days. And I also remembered how you'd started to pull away. I didn't want to push, but I wanted to help. So I just offered a little bit of light, anonymously." She stepped onto the stage, pulling him into a warm hug. "I missed you, Leo. And I knew that melody, that darkness, wasn't truly you." Leo, overwhelmed, could only hug her back, tears streaming down his face. It wasn't just Sarah. It was the symbol of everything he had rejected, everything he had hidden from, now standing before him, radiating understanding and acceptance. His unseen helper, his guide back to the light, had been someone he already knew, someone he had pushed away. The revelation of Sarah, being the other musician, was a turning point more profound than Leo could have imagined. It wasn't just about his music. It was about his life. He had been so consumed by his own darkness, so convinced he was a burden, that he had pushed away the very people who cared for him. Sarah's persistent, unseen kindness, her unwavering belief in his talent and his spirit had been the lifeline he unknowingly needed. He began the long, difficult journey of healing. Sarah, now a constant supportive presence, encouraged him to seek professional help, to talk about the depths of his depression. He started therapy, a terrifying but ultimately liberating step. He learned tools to manage his anxiety, to challenge his negative thoughts, to slowly, painstakingly climb out of the shadows. It wasn't a linear path. There were setbacks, days when the darkness threatened to return. But now he wasn't alone. He had Sarah, a friend who saw him, truly saw him, even when he hid himself away. Leo's music flourished. He composed with a newfound freedom, his melodies now rich with both the echoes of his past struggles and the vibrant promise of his present hope. His solo exhibition at the Community Arts Center filled with pieces that told the story of his journey from darkness to light was a resounding success. He didn't hide his past. He embraced it, using his music to connect with others who might be fighting similar unseen battles. He spoke openly about his depression, about the importance of reaching out, and about the profound impact of unexpected kindness. He found his purpose not just in creating music, but in using his art to illuminate the paths for others. He started a program at the community center, teaching music to at-risk youth, offering them a space to express themselves, to find their own melodies. He mentored young artists, reminding them that creativity often blossoms in vulnerability, and that true strength lies in seeking help. Leo's story became a beacon, a living testament to the truth that light can indeed be found in the darkest corners. It reminds us that sometimes the most profound acts of kindness are unseen, delivered quietly, persistently, without expectation of reward. It was Sarah's silent understanding, her gentle encouragement from afar, that created the initial crack in Leo's prison of despair. And it was his courageous decision to finally be vulnerable, to accept help, that allowed the full light to pour in. His journey taught him that mental health battles are real, complex, and often invisible. But they are not meant to be fought alone. There is always someone who cares, someone who sees beyond the surface, someone willing to offer that unexpected connection, that quiet melody of hope. And for Leo, that connection came in the most beautiful form, the unwavering friendship of someone who, even when pushed away, never truly gave up on him. This is a reminder that we all have the capacity to be that light for someone else, even without realizing it. A kind word, a listening ear, an act of silent encouragement. These are the threads that weave the tapestry of connection, helping others find their way back from the shadows. And for Leo, that light, once a distant dream, now illuminates his entire world, a testament to the enduring power of empathy and the resilience of the human spirit. If Leo's powerful journey from darkness to light resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of hope or reminded you of the strength found in vulnerability, please take a moment to like this video. Your likes help us share these profound stories of healing and resilience with more people who need to hear them. And if you're moved by true tales of human spirit, connection, and transformation, be sure to subscribe to Heartfelt Chronicles. We bring you inspiring stories every week that remind us of the extraordinary power within us all. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss another journey with us. Have you ever found light in your own darkest corners? Or helped someone else find theirs? Or has an unseen act of kindness profoundly impacted your life? Share your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. Let's create a space for support and shared understanding. Thank you for watching. And remember, even in the deepest shadows, the smallest act of kindness or the courage to reach out can illuminate a path back to hope. See you in the next chronicle.